Hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. So today's session, plan like we have to do a quick recap. Okay. So I'll record this session. So I want to know your knowledge in what so far what you've done. Um, we've talked about variables. We've done data types. We've done uh, um, logical operations, we talk about that. We talk about the conditional statements. We've done that. We've done the arithmetic operations. Okay. And then when we move to the data types, we've done the basic data types, which got to do with the number data type, the Boolean, then the non-data type. We've also moved into the collection data types that deal with groups. So collection simply means groups. So example of data that is not single. Simple data type is just single, like integer is just a single, float is just a single, boolean is just a single. None does not exist. Okay. But when you took a collection that has a series, like maybe if I talk about a string is made up of characters. Okay. So that fall under the collection data type. So collection data types, we looked at the string, the list, the tuple, the dictionaries, okay, the sets. We went through all those things, and then we also learned the properties of them. And then what we also learned about it, we realized that the collection data types, each element occupy a space. Okay. So to get access to the element there, we say we use indexing to get access to the element there. So we've learned about the indexing, so how to access the data and individual elements. And we say that okay, if I want to maybe access some part of maybe the data, then we did that by using the slicing. So remember we did the slicing. We did positive slicing, negative slicing. We went through all those things. And then we've done the basic understanding of computing, which we say that computer accept data, process, and then execute output. So we've tried to use the input function to capture data, and we say that any data that the input function capture comes as what? A string. So we did a demonstration of it for us to see how those things are. And then we went further to also look at the print statement. And we saying by default, the print statement prints and then it moves to the next line. So we try to counter that maybe using the inside of next line, we want it to continue by maybe ascending the end to a string, and then we did all those things. Okay, so I think you have understanding of that. And then we've also do the formatting strings, which you can format the strings and stuff. We did that. We did the conversion of a data type. So for instance, I can convert from integer to floats. I can convert from a float to integer, from string to that. We've went through all those aspects. Okay. And then we've done the looping, we've done the repetition, we've done which is the while loop, and then for loop for iteration. Okay, so we did the for loop for iteration, which actually you have understanding of that. Okay, and then the conditional statement, which is the if else statement. So if we are not, and we say the conditional statement uses for the Boolean expression. So when something is true, then the state condition is true, then it follow to execute what is there. Okay, and we've also learned about the in using the operational science in terms of maybe a string. If I move to a string is having some characteristics that we need to learn from. So some of them are, we call them the properties. So we went through the properties into details. Okay, so you've also saw that how those things are. how those things work. Okay, so we realize that instead of the int, we can use a lot of them. So some of them are maybe you can use the title, the capitalize, the lowercase, and all those things. You remember we went through all those properties, the strip and all those things. Okay, we learned the join function, we learned done the concatenations, we've done then we move on to functions. So we did the function and we realized we can use the function for reusable coding. So we did all those ones, okay. And then from functions, we've moved on to classes, and we learned about classes. And I told you that Python is all about classes. So that's why we say the object-oriented programming language. So we've gone through all those things, and then we move to models, models where we can put maybe a class, one or more classes, or a functions or a variable together, and we can access it through a module. And you see the module uses what it's like a container where you can package a whole lot of that. So we went through that module system. So if I have a module, that your module will be a file. So I can have a module as a file, and then see the module is having the py extension. Okay, so we've done the module, and then we move on from module to what packaging. And we say the packaging, what makes a pattern require cease as a package means that it has what the init file, that is hyphen hyphen init initial file inside. So that one is going to tell Python that hey, this folder that you are seeing, that it comes with a module. So within the module too, you can access a class, you can access different classes, you can put multiple classes within a package. Okay, so we've done a lot in these few months. Okay, so I truly want to see your understanding in what we've done. We did a naming convention, how to name a variable and the proper way to name your variables. We've went through all these things. So I really want you to, before we move to, because the next phase is going to be a little bit more technical. Okay, so but then I want to make sure you really understand what we've done. So when we are moving, I know that with the basics, you don't have any challenge when it comes to Python basics. You already know. Okay, so this month we'll be going deeper. So we did deeper understanding, at least the basics and what Python is all about. You should know and should be able to do some stuff with it. So today is going to be more, and if there's any like challenge somewhere, we can look at them before we start the new class. Okay. So kindly open up so you can share your screen. You can let us know what exactly you've captured so far, and then if there's anything that you want to add or you want me to come in, I'll come in. Okay, so based on all that I've given you, you need to talk about them. Let me know your understanding in all these areas that we've done. Okay, and then the implementation of it, let's know so we could actually build upon it. I hope it's clear.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll start from Nana. So Nana, can you share your screen, and then let's do this exercise. Okay, so from what we've done so far, let's see what you can do.
Uh,
So if
please, how are we doing it?
I decide to use an editor like maybe a Visual Studio Code, it's okay. Just to
But please, how are we doing it?
okay. So what have we done? Okay.
Mhm.
We've done the variable. We've gone through data types. We've gone through conditional statements. We've gone through logical operations. We've gone through um, uh, even the data type. We've gone through the single data type, which deals with the basics, and go to collection data types, which into details. Okay. So I just want your understanding in all this area. We've done classes, we've done functions, and all. So let me know that okay, if I'm doing this, let's say I'm declaring a variable, maybe you can do a simple application by declaring a variable, assign a value to it. Tell me that what you are doing. If maybe you want to do something with an input function, right? I just want the basic understanding in all these areas that what we've covered. That's what I
Okay.
want. I just want to see your understanding in all this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So um, using Windows PowerShell. So first and foremost, you taught us how to assign a value to a variable, declare a variable. So yeah, you recently you said that a variable, okay, but before, in assigning a value to a variable, all you have to use is the equal to sign. The equal to sign in Python means like you're assigning something to something, but if you want to prove that something is equivalent to something, you use the two equal tos. So, for example, I am assigning Adade to name. Yeah. So this is basically the format for assigning a value to a variable. Hey, what happened? Okay, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, so the mistake I made here was that Adade is a string, so it should have been in quote, like in a quote. Yeah, yeah. So this is basically how we assign a value to a variable. And you taught us something about like Boolean and improving sentence are true. So basically, you said that maybe, for example, Adade, if we were to assign Adade to name one, name underscore one equal to, yeah, and we were to test for Boolean of the two. Now we assigned Adade to name one, and Adade has also been assigned to name. So if we were to test if both of them were equal, they are testing for Boolean. Yeah, they said true. But if eh, okay, yeah. So basically, yeah, you thought something along the lines of this. That one, yeah, I won't lie, I've forgotten. But you thought something along the lines of this to prove that maybe is it this is like the memory of Adade. Yeah. So name and please can you remind me before we move
Okay.
on?
This basically means that now when you assign value to a variable. The space where the value occupied is use the memory address. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's the address. So in case maybe I want to assign a new one, like the way we've assigned, it's also going to use another address. Okay, but what happens is if you use the two equal sign, it check the equality of the value what you've done. So to check that
Yeah.
at a day, is it the content the same? That is equal. So realize that it is true. Okay. But when you use the S, what it does that it check what the states. Okay, that is the check memory state, like what memory have you assigned to? Is it the same memory address? Okay, that's what the is checking. But here you realize that gave us what
True.
true.
Yeah.
That yes, that um by default, if you have let's say a character which is maybe less than 8, okay, like 8 characters, it keep them in the same memory,
Yeah.
okay, or it can keep them in the same memory. So here it will still give you true because it has cached it, okay, because it's not more than maybe 20 or something. So it has cached it.
Yeah.
For instance, if you put more words here, it will not cache it in memory. In that case, it's going to give you false because it will not be the same
Ah.
address. Because this one is Adabe, which is 4 characters, right? Or five, 4. This one is 4, the length is 4. So it's using the default what memory address. Okay, which is that
Yeah.
the same memory address that is giving the same memory address that name is having, the same memory address that name underscore one is also having. So in that case, the what true. If you get it.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. So, off the top of my head, yeah, after this, I think we moved on to data types. So, I don't know sequentially where we started from. So, I'm going to start with strings. So, basically, what defines a string is the quotation. Yeah. So, when anything is placed in a quotation, that data type
Mhm.
is a string. So as we have adade here in quotation, that's what makes it a string. And to test if like for a data type, for example, you can use the is it the type function. So this is basically how you test if what you are saying is actually correct. So here we are testing for if the name which contains the value adade is a string. Yeah. So
Mhm.
So here, as you can see, it has given class string. And if you want more information about class string, including the attributes and the methods or things that you can basically do with a string, you can use the help function to do that. So here, and name is an object in the class string. So, uh, oh, boy. Also, please, uh, please
So
let
I
me
was
see.
like it's telling you that no Python documentation found for Adad
Yeah.
because Adad is just the value, the variable. The, the name is what, but the content of that is what Adad. That is the value. Okay. So get this one if you want to check for the class. Since you already checked that, you know that this is the string. So what we could do, we can do help. So instead of you putting Adade, yeah,
Yeah.
name, you put in what help or string str. You see
Okay.
here, it's
Okay.
suggesting to you if you see the suggesting the down there. So it's telling you that it should be
Uh,
help. You get str. That is the class.
Okay. So this basically provides you with the class. We have the docstring there, and it has the methods. They are all defined, and the methods are to tell you what you can do with the string, the class string. And there is a similar function called the directory. Basically, what the directory does is to directory basically provides it gives you whatever the class string entails. With like when you use the function help, it's basically going to give you the class and the methods under the class, but with directory, it's going to give you like the content. Please, if you
Okay.
get me.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the directory and the help. Okay. So let's move on. Another data type we have in Python is the integer.
Mhm.
Okay. So basically, the integer, any number, as long as it's not in quotation, it's integer. As long as it's any whole number in Python is an integer. Basically, that's the idea, and it doesn't have to be in quotation. So if like the whole number, as we have name here, if we were to place one in quotation like this and test for the type, it's going to give us a string. So that's what differentiates integers and floats from strings. They are not in quotes. As long as something is in quotes, it becomes a string. But if like any whole number for integers is any whole number, but when you want to deal with decimals, that's when we have floats. Yeah, and integers and floats, they say, yeah, there's one thing. Yeah, when you are using the input function, yeah, you said that like everything that's used within the input function is a string. So when you're using the input function, so basically the input function is something like the print, but it also is it's more interactive than the print function. What the print function does is that it prints exactly what you want it to do. Maybe, for example, how I said I like, for example, yeah, something like this. Yeah. So the print function is going to basically print all the info you need. But with the input, it's interactive in the sense that it also asks for something from the end user. Please do you get it?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, I want to make that mistake again. Yeah. So when you're using the input function with an integer, it assumes it's a string. That's basically how it is. Yeah, syntax wise, anything used within the input is is a string. So if you want to convert it to like what's the name, an integer, you basically have to use the int. So for example, we have name equals, okay, here we cannot really use it because this one is going to give you the result right after, but uh let me see. Yeah. So here now, yeah, with the answer you give, the age 12 here, if we are to test for the type, yeah.
Or you can decide not to use the print because you are using interactive mode to come. So you can
Okay.
just choose the type because you are using the Python shell to come.
Okay. So the answer, basically, as I said, the input, it's not only prints what you put in quotations, but it also asks for something from the end user. So here, when I place the name in type, it gives me a string. So for you to be able to correct that, because 12 is supposed to be an integer, you use the int to convert it, like the int converter. So here we have for, yeah, int, what is the stuff? Is it, is it, is the, okay, let me see. I'll make a mistake. Oh, did I make a mistake? I think I made a mistake.
You didn't close it.
Uh, okay. So now let's check for the type and see. This give you an int. So this is how we convert from a string to an integer. Eh, So it's the same with floats, but floats are not whole number values. They are more like uh, decimals. With floats, you can include decimals, whilst integers are whole numbers. Floats allows decimals. So that's the idea with floats. So something like 12.0 is a float. It's not an integer. And to confirm that, we can use a type again. So float. So as long as you are including decimals with your numbers, they become a float. And in the same way we converted from an integer to a string to an integer, we can also convert from a string to maybe a float, or a string, an integer to a float, by using the float function. So basically, that's the idea. You use the float function to convert from maybe an integer to a float, or from a string to a float. And please, we get it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you did say the integer and the float, they are not callable.
Yeah.
And so beyond that, we moved to the collection types, and the collection type data types, yeah, strings are also included in the collection types. So the collection types, we have plenty data types under that. We have the dictionaries, we have the sets, we have the strings. They are more than that, but off the top of my head, they are the ones that I remember. And what he said about the collection data types is that what differentiates them from the normal ones, the integers and the floats, is that you can loop through them. So there's something called iteration that you can do with the collection data types that cannot occur with the integers and the floats.
Mm.
It's cannot continue. Ah, so for example, okay, yeah, please, I don't want to do an example for all of them, but yeah, that's something you thought about the collection data, or should I have to do an example?
Or if you want to, no, but I just want understanding. So if you do that, makes me get it that you really know what's right.
Okay, so for the collection data types, there is something called yeah, for, yeah. So again, what differentiates them is their iteration. So you can basically loop through collection data types. And again, the examples I mentioned, we have a string, we have dictionaries, we have sets. And we have list and we have tuples, not forgetting those ones. Yeah. So they are all collection data types because of the iteration function you can use with them. And with iteration, there are two ways you can iterate using the while loop or the for loop. But before we move on to the while loop and the for loop, I would like to go through all the collection data types you taught. Yeah. So you started with a list, and basically, if you want to define a list, you have to use this bracket. So as long as you're using this bracket, you this then becomes a list. So again, to test again list. So for tuples, we use the parentheses. This one makes a data type a tuple when you use a parenthesis. That's when it becomes a tuple. And for dictionaries, dictionaries work different. But let me first talk about list and tuples. So with list and tuples are very similar, but the only difference between list and tuples is that with list you can change the like what's the name, the values inside, or the I want to say something. Yeah,
You don't
you
want
can
to
change what is in, yeah, with tuples. When you create a tuple, like it will
well it's
what?
mutable.
Yeah, it's immutable, exactly. Yeah. So tuples are immutable, whilst lists are immutable. That's only to mean that tuples cannot be changed when they are created, but lists can be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how function knows that if Python knows that what you've created is a list and a tuple. So with a list, you use a square bracket, and the tuple you use the parenthesis. And with a dictionary, dictionaries are a way in which another way in which Python stores like data, of course. But here it uses something called the key value pair. So for each value, there is a key that is created for it. So or yeah, and that stores the value. Yeah, so that's how dictionaries are. So basically, this is the syntax for creating a dictionary. You use the curly braces. Yeah, this is how you create a dictionaries. And with the curly braces, that's the same thing used for sets. So what differentiates what a dictionary from a set is the fact that a set doesn't have a key value pair. Sets only have values, whilst dictionaries have keys and also values. So if you want to create dictionaries, you can also use this function. Did this. So before what's this? Yeah. So if you want to add a key and a value pair to a dictionary, basically this is how the syntax is. So for example, I'm adding again the same name. Yeah. Wait.
What types of name?
Ah, sorry. Name. Okay, so now when we call the variable, this was going to give us. So this is how dictionaries appear. They have the key and the. Please, why they give me 12.0 for the name?
Because if I sign the name, you've already
Name already. Okay. Okay.
So that's why I didn't throw an error. If like you wanted to use a string as a key, that one the
Mhm.
string should have what quotes in
Quotation.
there, but you use what the variable as what. So the variable was already having a content, which is what.
Okay.
So when you add this one in addition, so that's why you could see that you is giving you the key, the number that it was there as the key.
Okay.
You get it? So you're now
Yeah.
picking content of that one as for 12 and then
Mm.
giving you value to that. I hope it's clear.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, basically this is how a dictionary appears. So we have the basically here the key is 12 and it has a value of nana contained in it. So the values can range from like dictionaries to like floats to integers. Anything at all can be a value, and anything, yeah, anything at all can be a value. So also there can be more than like one value placed in the same key, or yeah. So that's it with dictionaries. With sets, they are different from dictionaries in the sets in the like the difference between sets and dictionaries is the fact that they do not have the key value pairs. They only contain the values. But by default, when you use the curly braces, Python understands that curly braces as a dictionary. So the only way you are going to find out that, oh, this is a set or this is a dictionary is by what it entails. So for example, let's create a set. So we have this set. If you are to test for the type, here, defaultly, Python is going to give you dictionary. So if you want to actually create a set, yeah, the only way Python is going to recognize it as a set is by how it's structured inside. So for example, with this set, one comma, okay, now if you are to test for the type, is set. But if you want to avoid this confusion, you can basically use this function. Does it exist? So hey, yeah, please, is there not a function to just create a set? How we have the dict to create a dictionary?
That is set. Let's set
Yeah,
using the set to create.
yeah. But here is
And
given
that
an error.
this,
What?
this object is not callable
Oh,
based
collabo.
on what you just did here.
Mhm.
Because I'm sure if you use it, did you use sets?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I was trying to say that the only way to differentiate or to avoid the problems with like Python understanding the data type as a dictionary is to use the set function. But here it didn't work. So that's what I was asking if there is any type of thing like that. Because I remember something like that.
No, you use the set. It has the
That's it.
set method. Like the way you have ints, you have
Uh,
floats, you also have the set method. Like you have the bit method, like what you just did there at the end there. So
okay.
set method. Okay.
All right. So yeah, and there are plenty methods that come with, or plenty attributes and methods that all can be used with like strings, with lists, with tuples. with there were plenty that were taught, but like to find any information about these methods, you can use a help function. Because of like time, I'm not going to go over all of them, but under each data type, there are plenty methods that can be used or that can be applied to that data type. And again, to find out about that, you can use a help function. So for string, for example, we have the capitalize, we have the split, we have the strip, all those things, and they all perform different functions. And you can find info about all of them using the help. But to apply all those methods, this is the so I'm going to use a simple string to demonstrate. Okay. So we are going to use a function called lowercase, a method, sorry, under strings called lowercase to turn the Ghana here into lowercase. Uh-huh. So this the basically the syntax. Sorry. So you bring a dot here and look for it.
Is it lower or lower case?
Yeah, lower, sorry. Is it lower? I've forgotten stuff. Please remind me of the method or the yeah. Is it
So
lowercase?
if you want to get all the attributes, how will you get that from
Yeah,
here?
you can basically use the help to get like all the methods and the attributes under the specific data type.
Okay.
Uh, but I don't want to go through that because it's a long list of attributes for all of them. Eh.
Okay.
But I was
Okay. That,
trying to tell, yeah, so we
so
have
you
something called
use the lower.
capitalize, for example.
So that
Wait,
is
I'm using, why? Say string object has no
that
capitalize.
is
Okay. Is it
capitalized.
capitalize?
You made it S
Uh,
Z Z C.
okay. So yeah. So basically, I wanted to tell you of the syntax that can be used when you are calling a method in a specific class. So here, the class was a string. So when you are calling the method, you use the period. So basically, you attach the period to the variable, and you add the method to it. Please, if you get me.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you want to access any method from any specific class, that's the syntax to use. Can I move on?
Sure, sure.
So yeah, again, we talked
So you
about
have
how
you have you have 6 minutes. Okay.
6 minutes. Okay, so yeah, we talked about how the collector data types, what differentiates them from the other ones is the fact that they are iterable. So for iteration, you can basically use the for loops and the while loops. Yeah. So basically, what
Wait.
the
Are you
for
saying that we use the for loop and the while loop?
yeah while loop basically repeats it's something,
So
but iteration for loop. What what
iteration is basically for loop.
for loop? Okay. So for you can use for loop. Since the time is moving, I cannot provide an example. But what for loop does is to like to it loops through the function. I wanted to show an example, but the time is moving and I have to like go through all of those things. But for yeah, uh, okay. For while loops deal with repetition. So if you want Python to print from, for example, from like 0 to 100, for while loop, you have to provide a condition for which something must be true, and you also have to include something called an incremental. And yeah, when you want to exit a while loop, you can use the break statement. Sometimes the while loop can go on and on and on and on and never end. So you can use a break statement to exit the while loop, or you can also provide the else, or yeah, the else to provide a condition for which the while loop is false. So if it
Okay.
reaches the false condition, it's going to break or it's going to stop. Yeah. So that's for the for loops and the while loops. And yeah, I think we also discussed the byte and the byte arrays, and also the boolean, the true or false basically, and the non-data type. And for the non-data types, what we said is that basically for every function in Python, the default returned value is none. Yeah, and the
Okay.
non-data type is false in Boolean. None is always false in Boolean. So it's the same for integers. Zero is false, but every other number is true. It's the same for string. An empty like string is a false in Boolean, but any other string is true. Yeah. So beyond that, we moved on to functions and classes. And functions, you basically said functions are reusable code in Python.
Mhm.
So sometimes when you are creating a Python program, you yeah, you wouldn't want to like continue using the same the idea of creating functions in or defining functions in Python is for you to use them or call them in other like programs without having to create them all over again. That's why they are tagged reusable codes.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And we also have something called classes. So classes are, in a way, me I understood it as a bigger form of functions in the sense that it contains plenty methods all at once to perform different functions. Uh, and classes, okay, functions are defined using def, and class is basically defined using class. The distinct one other distinguishing feature between a class and a function is that functions, when you're defining a function, for example, the name of a function, you use a lowercase letter to begin it, but with classes, you use uppercase.
Okay.
So yeah, and we also talked about models. So models are basically models contain plenty functions and plenty like it can contain model can contain plenty functions, plenty different functions or plenty different classes in one file. And basically it's yeah for a program. That's what a model is. And we also talked about packages, and packages contain plenty models.
Okay.
Uh, uh, I think and we also discussed how to import them a whole lot, but off the top of my head, this is what I remember.
Sure, 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 sure. I think you've done well. I'm impressed to be able to, within 1 hour, summarize what that you've done. That's very good. Thank you very much. So
Okay,
now that give me the understanding here that what that you've done, I think you'll be able to absorb everything. Okay. So just a matter of practicing more. Okay, that is
okay,
what I will think good.
okay.
So
Thank
now I can move on to Kwame. Kwame, can you hear me? Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Kwame. So you have the next 1 hour for you. So let's see what you've learned so far.
Okay, sure. Please can you see my screen?
Sure, we can see your screen.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to be using PowerShell.
Okay.
So we began with assigning assigning values to variables. So, for example, so sorry. So this is an example of a value and a variable, which is showing like a string. And as we learned, what differentiates an integer from a string is the quotation marks. The quotation marks that differentiates an integer from a string. So this is a string, and this is an integer. Okay, so we learned about the various collection data types. So I'll start with sets. So for a set, both sets and you have sets and dictionary, they use the uh, curly brackets. But to differentiate that, a dictionary uses a key and a value, but a set doesn't use a key and a value. So for example, a set like set is equal to maybe one, two, okay. Oh, sorry. Set is equal to set one equal to three and four. Then maybe set two is equal to two, four, six, eight. So we learned about various functions like we use working with set. That's the union, intersection, there is subset, there is superset, and those things. So for the union, you use the this symbol for the union. So set underscore one. Then you bring the symbol set underscore two. So this symbol just joins both sets, brings them together as we learned in our normal classes that the union joins two sets together, joins both the elements of the sets. So you can print union and set. So as you can see, it has joined the two sets and also intersection.
Let me ask you a question. What happen if one element appear in set one at the same time set two? When you are doing the union, what would the output be like? Will it repeat it?
No, as you can see in set one, we have 2 and 4, and in set two, we also have 2 and 4. So it doesn't repeat, it just continues in another.
So it means that set avoid repetition.
Yes, 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 please.
Okay.
And also for intersection, we use the ampersand. So, what is it? So the intersection, as you all know, shows uh, elements that are in set one and elements that are also in set two. So here you can see that you have just 2 and 4, which is the intersection of set one and set two. Okay, so then
Okay.
after talking about collection types, we also did the dictionary. The dictionary also uses the same curly brackets, but as I said, the difference is that the dictionary uses a key and a value, and a set doesn't. So for okay, let me make an example for dictionary. So maybe dictionary like person. So person. The key here is the name. Key here is the name, and the value here is maybe Kwame. Then maybe age. Age here is the key, and the value is maybe 90.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Kwame just left the meeting. Okay. So I think now we've gotten the basic understanding of Python programming. Okay.
Yes, please.
So maybe I think now your understanding about the programming is a little bit better than before, right?
Yes, please. Very.
Okay. And then you see that difficult, as you were saying.
And now it's easier. Probably in school is because I wasn't paying attention and the set two wasn't really competent, but now it's easier.
It's easier.
I'm not going to say it's not difficult, but it's better now.
Better now.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 That's good. So I think the next phase, what will be, what we are going to do is we are going to move on more of the application aspect of it. Okay. So what we've covered so far, we are now going to apply some of them. Okay. So for instance, I know you are doing engineering, so maybe you may have a device where you want to read the data from the device. Okay. So most of the things that we are going to do is going to help you in case of you have any devices. Maybe you may have a reader where you want to maybe take a data from the reader, okay, and map it and stuff. So how do we actually do all those things? Okay, and then how
Yeah.
to read data from the computer and all those stuff. So basically, this next phase that we'll be doing is going to be more of industry-driven kind of learning that we'll be doing. Okay, so we look at how they, what is expected of them, what would they be doing with the Python knowledge. So, which I know is also going to help you in your projects. Okay, but even if you want to do maybe within your final year project, whatever that you want to do, you want to build a system. I don't know your school. If you are doing electrical engineering, do they allow you to build a prototype project or it's just a research base
Oh no, it's not research based. It's actually a project for final year.
for final year?
Yeah.
And do you do it individual or it's a group?
That's what I don't know. But basically, you there are going to be plenty questions, so you pick from one. That's what they told
Oh,
us. And so you build your system from the question you picked.
oh, okay, 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 that's fine. That's fine. So I think
And
uh, the later part of it, I didn't go through this. Let's, which I know. I will remember the we did the package all right, but when it comes to the bitwise, I talked
yeah,
of it.
yeah,
Okay, okay. So here is more kind of work through that. So what I want you guys to do is that because you will need this maybe when we are dealing with devices, maybe in terms of networking, in terms of most data are centered within this bitwise operation. You use them maybe want to go to cryptocurrency, a lot of stuff using this. Okay, so I just left it for you. Now you can see here, you write a little function of it. Because we've done most of them, that's why I didn't do. So you know the symbols, everything of this. So these are the symbol for the end, the symbol for the okay, which I walk you through. So you create a function for them like that. Then you look at how does it apply, maybe in terms of the industries and stuff. So I just want to play around this because All this one we are going to use it in our next class. We will be using them, but because we've already done functions and all those things, I did explain to you what all this one logical equations. I did all this for you. So I try your best and go through them. Okay, try
Okay.
your best and focus and try your best and go through all of them and try to figure out what all these things. So when we start our new, it shouldn't be a different thing to you.
Okay.
Uh, just okay. So I was not sharing my screen with you. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is what I was the bitwise. Okay, so try and go through them. That is from 71 down there. We've talked about this. So all these one try and go and how does it work? So those ones and how does it work? Try and go through them. Okay. And then you look at the application of it, writing a simple code. That is the next one. So you can write all of them. We will need them in most of the application that you see. Maybe you are reading a data, maybe I have a device, maybe a metric device, or I have a scanner, or maybe I'm reading from, let's say you are reading maybe a simple dice beam where you are using a reader. Okay, so you need to take a data from that read. So in that case, it's going to be in the form of binary and also what is just here. I think you need to go through some of them like this one. See here, what does this one mean, which I've did explain it
Yeah.
in our last class. I've explained this. Just do the examples here. You then do the exercise here. To try your best and go through all of them. So don't just see that okay, we are done. So you those aspects. Okay.
Okay.
Take your time and walk through them. Then done. Okay. So you need to try your best and master this one too as well. So see the explanation is there. I did not talk about I think we've done the model. So when it comes to OS, import OS. So import OS actually help you to interact with your own the maybe hardware. Okay. So the import OS will actually help me to create a file and all to do all those in my code. You can create your file and everything in the command, okay? But when it comes to the coding itself, we are writing a script, then that one we need the import OS. That will help you to file your path and all those things. So if you check import OS and then you check for OS package, you will see there are a lot of stuff there. So that will give
Yeah.
you the fair understanding of the OS actually is. Okay. From
Okay.
what I we've done, so now you already know. Okay, so you just check in contents or the directories, what do you have with OS and what can it? So what it does, it can help you create a file, it can help you to like all that we can do. Maybe we realize that we use that to create a folder, move a directory, G directory, and all. So the import OS help us. So sometimes you'll be doing an installation and it just walk you through the process and install in a certain directory. So yeah, you use the import OS to check the directory where your files and the stuff will go. So just walk through. We will go into details in our next class. So but because you've done this one, so these are just basics that I want you to get understanding from what and just check some of the directories, what we'll be getting from. Okay. So apart from that, and then the last